From the capital city of Columbia, South Carolina, on the east coast of these United States, the truth is back on the airwaves. You asked for it, you missed it, and now it returns. Broadcasting to the awakened, the curious, the seekers of truth. This is not your average radio show. This is where the mainstream ends and the unexplained begins.
Evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, on another planet, or on the other side. Welcome to Late Night in the Midlands with your host. I am Mike Vara, coming at you live from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, right here on the east coast of these United States. Tonight, we're opening the doors to the mysteries of the universe, the truths hidden in plain sight, and the conversations you won't hear too many other places. So buckle up, because it's time to expand your mind, challenge the narrative, and expose the truth, one show at a time. And tonight we're tackling out-of-body experiences. Marilynn Hughes is our guest tonight, and she is the founder of the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation, and she established it in 2003 with the inspiring mission of reducing spiritual hunger worldwide, rooted in the words of Mother Teresa, she says, about the deep human need for love and spiritual connection. So since 1987, Marilynn has experienced, researched, written, and taught extensively on out-of-body experiences and mysticism, journaling thousands of personal encounters. She is a prolific author with well over 75 books, 40 magazines, 15 plus CDs, numerous documentary films, paintings, and multimedia content, most of which are freely available through her foundation, the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation. So we'll be getting her on with us here momentarily, and I'm looking forward to catching up with her. So that's what we got going tonight. The website, it is MikeVara.com. Go on over, become a late nighter, be informed, and by all means, inform others. Again, I just cannot tell you how important that is. Share the link. Help us grow. We appreciate every little bit you do. Of course, if you want to go on the website and hit that donate button, that really helps a lot. So we'd appreciate that as well, because we can always use the help. There's always something that needs to be paid. That's for sure. All right, a little bit of news and discovery. By the way, don't forget to check out the other shows that are on the VARA radio network as well. There's plenty of them. Just go check the schedule over on the website. It's that easy. It take me a while to go through them all, so I'm not going to do that, but you can. Aliens may already be watching us because of common Earth technology, says a study. Well, they could have just asked me and saved a lot of money on this study, but anyways. So, according to new research, aliens could already be monitoring us, or at least be aware of our existence, thanks to what's called electromagnetic leakage. I bet that Big Pharma would like to use that. They could come up with a pill for it. You know? Do you suffer from electromagnetic leakage? Well, now there's a pill for you. Anyways, back to this. Right now, radar systems utilized by civilian airports and military operations are unintentionally broadcasting our existence to potential advanced alien civilizations, according to new research. Well, yeah, and they've been here anyways. The study at the UK's University of Manchester examined how concealed electromagnetic leakage might appear to extraterrestrials up to 200 light years from Earth, assuming they possess state-of-the-art radio telescopes similar to ours. Yeah, I suppose there's some out there who are more primitive than we, but I'm guaranteeing that there's probably more who are more advanced than we. Now, according to the Royal Astronomical Society, theoretically, it also suggests this is the distance we could detect if aliens have evolved to use comparable technology. The findings presented at the Royal Astronomical Society's National Astronomy Meeting 2005 in Durham reveal how, they say how global aviation hubs like Heathrow and Gatwick and so many others, these airports, JFK International, emit signals indicative of our existence. Well, we've been sending out signals for a long, long time, and and they've been here already. They've been sitting on the moon watching all the reruns. A former NASA engineer recently made shocking claims that humans are not only working with alien technology, but there are also trillions of invisible devices hidden around the world. Invisible devices. Richard Banderick, the CEO of Field Propulsion Technologies, joined the Ecosystemic Futures podcast to reveal what he knew about ongoing efforts in the U.S. to reverse engineer alien technology recovered from crashed UFOs. So this guy, he's an ex-propulsion engineer for both NASA and Lockheed Martin, and he said that trillions of pieces of alien metals had been deposited all over the globe. The whistleblower didn't know who had been scattering these objects worldwide, but believed they were different from the bits of debris experts had recovered from crashed spacecraft and may be part of a covert sensor network. In other words, these are invisible pieces that are monitoring us, and we can't see them, so we'll never know about it. Well, they got cameras on every street corner. What's the difference? We see those, they see us. The type of things that they say that they looked at were something as small as a sliver of metal that would reconfigure itself depending on where it was. It would cloak itself and try to blend into the environment, he revealed. Wow. That's kind of scary, isn't it? I mean, you could be walking and things are just blending into the environment. So you're walking right by. That's what I mean. Yeah, aliens could be amongst us. Who's to say that one of them guys can't do these things? I don't know. So little metal pieces all over the globe, invisible and monitoring us. Oh, hey, look. I'm not going to say it's crazy because the craziest things end up being true. Scientists find common factors in people who have out-of-body experiences. A new study has identified common factors in people who have had out-of-body experiences, that is OBEs as they call them. The odd phenomena where people describe experiencing the world as if from a location outside of their bodies. A surprising number of people have had OBEs, with some surveys finding that they have affected between 10 and 20% of the population. Their experience and effect can vary from person to person. It is being suggested, get this, suggested that they could be caused by problems in the inner ear. Look, I had a few of those things myself, and I could promise you it was not the inner ear. No, sir, not the inner ear. But that's what they say. You know, the scientists, they always want to just, we can't explain it, so that was the inner ear. Anyhow, moving right along here. Coffee's good. It's hot. It's hot in here, too. Not as bad, though. It's starting to cool down a little bit at night. Northern Lights. You like the Northern Lights? Well, it may be visible in some 18 U.S. states tonight after the show. That's going to be after midnight, I think, around that time. You'll be able to see in 18 different states. They say it could be as far going right into the south. Says auroras may be visible from Alaska to Illinois, as an incoming cannibal solar storm could spark geomagnetic storm conditions tonight. Potential cannibal solar storm is on its way and could put a spectacular Northern Lights display across the United States tonight. A fast-moving coronal mass ejection, that's a CME, launched by a long duration, they say M2.7 flare from sunspot AR 4199. You getting all this? August 30th, it busted off and is expected to slam into Earth's magnetic field late on September 1st into early September 2nd, according to the NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center. And when it arrives, the CME is likely to spark a G2, which is moderate, to a G3, which is very strong, geomagnetic storm with a chance of reaching G4, which is severe. These levels, according to NOAA and the UK, they say that means auroras could extend much farther south than usual and potentially giving millions across the northern and even central U.S. a shot at catching the lights. I remember I was in Syracuse, New York one night near the lake, and I came out, and boy, it was going like crazy. It looked like the Matrix up there. It was wild. Only time I ever seen them, though. A female employee was viciously attacked by a group of assailants inside an Indiana Walmart over the weekend, according to reports. The shocking incident unfolded on Friday afternoon in Indianapolis. A woman by the name of Takira Hicks had just exited a restroom when she was ambushed by a mob. Witness footage shot by a man identified as Kind Butler has been circulating on social media. There wasn't any questioning, no anything, Butler said. Just as soon as they saw the girl, the whole family came over and started beating her up. And then I believe she got suspended. She gets suspended. She's coming out of the bathroom, gets jumped by a mob of idiots, and she gets suspended. That's your Walmart for you. You know, their employees, the customer's always right, even when they kick your ass. It's just unbelievable. Oh boy, oh boy. It is very important, says Donald Trump, that the drug companies justify the success of their various COVID drugs. Many people think they are a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree. POTUS wrote. Trump added, with CDC being ripped apart over this question, I want the answer and I want it now, he said, explaining he's seen information from major drug companies that produced COVID shots and other medicines reportedly showing extraordinary results. Extraordinary meaning not good. They never seem to show those results to the public, he says. Why not? They show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. I want them to show them now to CDC and the public and clear up this mess one way or the other, he said. Finishing his post, President Trump wrote, I hope Operation Warp Speed was as brilliant as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for your attention to this very important matter. President Donald J. Trump. Could the president be setting the stage to finally expose the deadly COVID shots? I think so. It's just, I'm telling you, all the evil's coming out. It's all being rounded up. I don't know how this is going to end, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty exciting at the moment. I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I will have my guest with me, and her and I will be discussing out-of-body experiences. That is Marilynn Hughes joining me next, right here on Late Night in the Midlands. It is Monday night. Kind of a manic Monday, isn't it? But we'll get through it, and we'll enjoy it because it's going to be a great conversation coming up here in just a moment. I wonder sometimes, what does it all mean? And, out of body, meaning we're more than just this flesh and blood. Do we go around in circles? Do we keep...
Station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Here at Late Night in the Midlands, we believe in truth, awareness, and taking care of our minds and bodies. That's why I'm proud to share Mike Vara's long-standing friendship and partnership with Dr. Leonard Horowitz and his Healthy World store. Dr. Horowitz and Mike go way back. They've supported each other through the years because they share the same mission, bringing people the truth and helping them live healthier, stronger lives. His products are crafted with your health in mind, using the highest quality natural ingredients that you can feel good about putting into your body. When you shop at the Healthy World store, you're not just making a choice for your health, you're also supporting Late Night in the Midlands and the VAR network. Every purchase helps us keep the truth on the air and the conversation alive. So do something good for yourself and for independent media. Visit the Healthy World store today, and let's keep both your body and the truth strong. HealthyWorldStore.com, health for you, support for us. Just click on the Healthy World store banner on the homepage of our website, MikeVara.com.
Start your day with Late Night in the Midlands coffee. Small batch roasted in the USA for bold, fresh flavor. Choose from smooth decaf, rich radio blend with notes of dark chocolate and caramel, or bright Columbia single origin with citrus and melon tones. Available whole bean or ground in 12-ounce bags. Order now at MikeVara.com. Late Night in the Midlands coffee. Every sip has a story.
I'm Art Bell, and you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with Mike Vara.
Looking to show your love for Late Night in the Midlands in style? Check out our vibrant, durable vinyl stickers. Perfect for sticking the truth where everyone can see it. Our stickers feature eye-popping colors with eco-solvent ink, a smooth matte finish, and a UV protective laminate for long-lasting durability. Waterproof and weatherproof, these stickers are made with eco-friendly materials so you can stick them anywhere, rain or shine. Need a perfect gift or the ultimate companion for your favorite brew? Grab our glossy Late Night in the Midlands mugs, available in 11 and 15 ounces with bright, crisp colors that pop. Microwave and dishwasher safe, lead and BPA free, perfect for your home office or podcast binge sessions. Get your stickers and mugs now at MikeVara.com, the perfect way to show your fandom with flair. Late Night in the Midlands, stick it, sip it, love it.
station.
Carolina Radio, Columbia.
Excellent, excellent.
Number one means you're always on top. Your number one radio.
You're listening to the VARA Network.
You know, as I always like to, anything new that you want to get out to start out with, by all means you can. Other than that, you know, where I like to start is, you know, where all this began with you, especially, you never know, new listeners might be curious as how this came together. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
All right. So we are live. So yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, how about a little bit of background? Like where did this all start for you?
Oh, yeah, it began in my early 20s. I mean, if you go all the way back, I guess it began when I was 9 years old and had an amazing experience, vision, where the clouds began to swirl, and it parted to a beautiful marble staircase surrounded by golden angels on each side, leading up to two thrones, which then were occupied by God and the Son. And I had a long experience there where basically I was shown and told that I had some type of a mission that was coming, and that this type of experience would come back to me later in life. And indeed it did when I was 22. And from the time I was 22, it started back up. I started journaling about these experiences. They began very basically with the things that people hear about, you know, going out of your body, trying to learn how to go through matter, go through a window, travel the astral plane. But they quickly progressed to much, much more, where it was traveling through corridors and tunnels to higher spheres and, you know, literally infinite numbers of realms, going through the initiations into the mysteries, the rites of passage, and then moving into not only the higher heavenly spheres, but the purgatories and the hell realms, and learning about all of these mechanics of existence, meeting so many different spiritual teachers and guardian angels and guardians of all kinds, frankly. And that's become, you know, the nature of my work. So, you know, we're at 140 books, just released a new series of books this year, 28 volume complete out-of-body travel guides, which is a very extensive set of books that goes into all of the subjects that surround out-of-body travel and mysticism. So everything from, you know, the beginning things like psychic awakening, awakening the third eye, understanding auras, those kinds of things, to several books on understanding reincarnation, understanding past life memories, things like that. Also, lots of things on different types of universal mysticism and bringing together all the different traditions that come to us from around the world and how they all work together. But there's 28 volumes, and they're all, it covers every subject that's related to out-of-body travel as it's been taught to me for the last 40 years. And so this has been a really fun project, trying to bring everything that I've been taught all these years into kind of like a complete set of, you know, guides for people to make it more simple for people to access.
And so does everybody have these guides? Are these guides are out there for all of us? I mean, or is this, I mean, how does that work?
Well, in terms of what you're talking about now would be, I was talking about the book series, which is the complete guides to out-of-body travel. But what you're referring to maybe is spiritual teachers, spiritual guides, spiritual guardians. Everybody does have some of these. And these people, these souls, these spirits, these teachers are around everybody. And what we find is that during different periods of our lives, as we're learning different things, those teachers will come and go and it'll change. So that when we're learning about one aspect or one concept that we need to understand, we may have like one teacher, like for instance, one of mine was Emmanuel, and then he may go off and another teacher would be replaced, like Kutahe. But literally for me, there have been like a line of dozens of teachers over those years. Some of them are there for a longer period of time, and many of them are there for only a short period of time to convey whatever it is that is their specialty, what they're here to teach. So, for instance, Emmanuel, he is here to teach about oneness and understanding what oneness really means. And so that's what he was here for. And then he steps aside for Kutahe, which begins with teaching about the different aspects of like karmic entanglement, things like this. But then it continues. It continues. In my particular journey, one of the things that I was instructed to do early on was to learn a lot about ancient sacred texts, prophets, saints, mystics, sages, and ascetics from all world religions all around the world, and also all tribal practices as well. And I was given a lot of specific advice about this and guidance, where I was told what to read and why to read it, and then given a lot of impetus from the other side to understand these texts and to understand what was important about them for me in my spiritual journey. And part of the reason for that is because in these ancient sacred texts, which I now have this massive library of over 5,000 ancient sacred texts, we have all this gold, what I call gold, which means gold are the words of the masters that they left behind before they were just finishing up what would be their last time here, where they would never be coming back because they had completed their tasks here in this sort of realm. And so the words they left behind were gold, because those were like the maps to our soul as to what we need to know in order to be able to follow the same path, to move forward, to achieve the same effect, which is basically graduating from this realm and moving on to the next, rather than passing through this life and realizing we didn't actually complete or accomplish what we came here to do this time, like maybe we have done many times before, and doing this karmic circling, which means you just keep reincarnating and doing the same thing over and over again, because you never quite get that point. You never quite hit that impetus of realizing, oh, if I spark that particular path of purification within my soul, I may actually complete the tasks required of me here in this mortal realm.
So does it go around in circles, per se? Do we keep coming back and have to do it over and over again?
A lot of times we do, especially if we are not making good use of our time here. So if we're not achieving, the achievements that we have to make in embodiment often have more to do with energy and awakeness and understanding than necessarily oftentimes something physical we have to achieve. Sometimes those things are tied to certain accomplishments in this life that our soul wants us to experience and set out to do. But most of the time, it has to do with vibration and frequency, because knowledge is not information. Knowledge is vibration. And so when you're in the out-of-body travel state, you will undergo many, many vibrational raisings as you are moving into higher and higher levels of knowledge. And so, yes, if you're not moving into higher levels of knowledge, if you're not undergoing a path of purification in this lifetime, if you are just kind of sleepwalking through life and you're not accomplishing what you're here to accomplish, yes, that's possible that you may be in a cycle that is karmic circling, where you're just kind of going back and doing the same thing over and over again, habitual behavior. And part of the one of the things the out of body experience does for people oftentimes is you are taken back into past lifetimes where you're often able to see these patterns of habit, these patterns of karmic behavior, and identify them so that you might be able to accelerate your progress a bit and realize where you are on the spectrum of knowledge and what you actually need to do while you're still here.
Interesting. So, you had some out of body experiences, right? Some spontaneous OBEs back in the 1980s. Um, what was that period like for you? Spiritually, emotionally, it had to been. I mean, did you understand what was going on at the time?
Well, I've had spontaneous out of body experiences. I've had thousands of them
Oh my
since the
God.
1980s, and they continue to this day. And so, what's that like? Um, it's like a little bit like living in two worlds. So it's a little bit like this is my physical world, and then when I go to bed at night, I very often will be taken into the great, grand, expansive, infinite worlds of cosmic creation, and I will experience stuff there. And the difference for me than it might be for other people who don't remember this is that I remember it, because most people will have experiences of an out of body travel nature while they're sleeping. It's just that a lot of people do not remember them.
Well, I'll
They're
tell you what,
subconscious.
I had three, and I had no control over any of them. It just happened, and I remember all of them. Yeah,
Well, that's great.
yeah.
That's great. And see, part of the process is that you're working towards more conscious awareness of these experiences so that you can bring that consciousness of what you're experiencing from that ethereal landscape into the physical construct. So the more conscious you can become in that ethereal landscape, and the more you can bring that which is of heaven to earth, so to speak, the better, because then you are actually creating evolution and progress within your own organism. And that's part of what the purpose is here in mortal realms.
And so then, what inspired you to formalize your work by founding the Out of Body Travel Foundation? What got you going there?
Well, it was everything that I've done has been very closely directed by the spirit. And so everything I've done, I was specifically instructed what to do. So whether it was founding the Out of Body Travel Foundation or every single title of every book, it's given to me in the out of body travel state. But as to the founding of the Out of Body Travel Foundation in 2003, I had been originally published by a traditional publisher in 1991 and 1992. And my publisher had had many conversations with me about how he felt that I had a very unique niche and that it might be a good idea to start my own publishing company because of that. And it turned out that he was very right. And so I ended up founding the foundation in 2003. And it was through a series of many experiences that I had, out of body travel experiences, where I was shown exactly what to do and how to do it, what to call it. And then every step of the way ever since, I've been given very specific directions of what to do to expand on it as it grows and grows.
Oh, okay. So, and speaking of growing, how were you able to grow it so quickly?
Well, it's been growing. You know, the process that I've undergone has been going on for about 4 years. So it hasn't been so quickly. I guess it's one of those things, those those not really an overnight success kind of stories. It's
Yeah.
been going on for 40 years. But so it's been a very slow, diligent, but very methodical approach where every single day I would receive the instructions of what I was supposed to do that day, and I would just very obediently do it. From whether it was the music, I received music, I painted paintings, whether it was to write down that music or record that music, it was every little single detail of the process, whether it was, publishing the books, whether it was creating different types of digital things, creating the websites, creating all the other things that come with the whole process of what I'm doing now, which includes, all of the offshoots, all of the digital offshoots that you have to do with a venture like this. So it's really all about this discipline of doing what you're told, doing it diligently, and doing it every single day, and just letting it build, and not really worrying about the outcome, but just be obediently following the instructions, knowing that whatever it turns out to be is what it is intended to be and what it is meant to be. And so and that also applies to the whole thing, which was the process of the process that was going on within my own soul that whole time, which was the transformations that were constant and ongoing all those years, because I was building these things, but I was also building up my soul. My primary focus was I want to do the will of God. I want to follow where God is leading me and my soul, and I want to do that well, and I want to follow that obediently. And I learned very quickly, very early on, that when you do that, you accomplish so much more than when you just kind of do your own thing, because God sees the whole picture. He also has the entire map laid out of your life, and so he's just telling you because he knows where you need to be in 40 years, right?
Yeah.
So he's just telling you, do this today, do that tomorrow. You know
Oh
what I mean?
God, 40
if you
years.
do that,
40 years from now, I'll be a prune.
Me too.
Oh yeah, if I'm still here, I'll be a prune.
I relate. Me too.
Yeah. So these the out of body experiences, you've had people from all around the world who have told you stories, correct?
Yes.
And what would you say are there a lot of similarities with them? I mean, are they different in different countries? They have different experiences, or is it all pretty much universal?
You'd be very surprised how similar those stories are and how much they all follow this same path, which I laid out in the Mysteries of the Redemption and then the sequels, that there is this pathway that souls seem to follow. It's kind of like what you see in near-death experiences, where there are certain, hallmark things that occur. But not everyone's experience is identical, but there are certain things that are kind of expected. In the path that we see for the spiritual awakening of a soul, for people who have these types of out-of-body experiences, it happens in a similar fashion. And people do tell me from every corner of the world, and the same kinds of things, and they are very similar. And it doesn't matter what religion they are. But what's interesting about that too is if you actually look into the ancient sacred texts, you'll find that if you read the writings of the mystics from the Sufi traditions, the Christian, the Jewish, the Hindu, the Buddhist, etc., they all meet as well in that center, in the mystical traditions, for thousands of years. They've spoken of, we talk about people having faith, which is a beautiful Holy Spirit gift of grace that we receive. But there's also something called the mystic knowers. And when you read the writings of these mystic knowers, they all understand each other. And mystic knowers are called mystic knowers because they know. They know God. They know because they've seen it, they've experienced it. It's no longer a question of faith for them. They are knowers. And when you actually read those texts, it's astonishing how similar the mystic knowers are to one another, whether they're shamans, whether they're Christians, whether they are Sufis, or any of the other traditions. They all seem to understand one another very well.
I see. All right. And now, the foundation's mission, it says, is reducing spiritual hunger worldwide. How do you define spiritual hunger? What
Well,
exactly is that?
Well, we founded the foundation on a couple of premises, and that was one of them, to reduce spiritual hunger worldwide, because Mother Teresa had made the observation that she felt that the spiritual hunger in the West was so much more serious than the physical hunger in the East. And so back when I founded the foundation in 2003, which was just a few years after her death, that's what I really focused on, and that's what came to me was we need to reduce spiritual hunger worldwide. And we started out um, by offering everything that I write, and everything, our films and everything is available for free download at our website at outofbodytravel.org. I have over 140 books in print, so there's a lot you can read, and a lot of films as well. We have films and classes and all kinds of things. Um, but what I wanted to touch on with that was that with Mother Teresa, she understood that without the spiritual food, a soul is just as famished as they are without physical food, and that it's just as serious of a problem. You know what I mean? Um, and so I had this beautiful experience one night where, and this was when I was first putting up the very first website, when websites were a little on the news side in 2003.
Yeah.
And I was putting it up and trying to figure out how to do everything. I didn't know how to do anything, honestly.
I
And all the
remember those
prophets,
days.
saints, mystics, sages, and ascetics were surrounding me in this beautiful cathedral in the heavens. And they told me that everything had to be downloadable for free. And they told me what the markups would be on the books that would be sold, the paperback versions and things like that. And and they made it clear to me that they wanted it to be that way so that there would not be anyone left out. So anyone in any corner of the world, no matter how remote. And back in that time, there were people who would be accessing things from like little internet cafes. You know what I mean?
So they got businessmen on the other side then.
That's right. Yeah. And so that's where that began, with that objective and that directive given by the prophets, saints, mystics, sages, and ascetics. And we started with the downloading for free. Everything was downloadable for free so that no one would be left out. So we would reduce that spiritual hunger, that we would make sure that people had access to spiritual materials that would feed their soul, so that people who were living, because your original question was, how do I define spiritual hunger? Well, it has to do with people who are starving for God, starving for spirituality, starving for meaning, you know?
Yeah.
And so we started with the idea of we're going to start with filling our little corner of the internet with the resources that we can offer and make them free.
Well, that's great. Yeah, that's what I do on mine. I offer the archives and stuff free, and I feel like the truth will set you free. It should be free, and I just ask for support. If you feel
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah,
That's
that's it.
awesome. I
That,
appreciate that. That's great. Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. You want to reach as many people as you can, and and free,
Right.
free. A lot of people understand the word free. So
Right.
yeah. So you've authored rather dozens of books. You've created music, art. You've done it all. What drives your commitment to free access? Somebody had asked a question. Why free? Why not free? Right?
Okay, so that is that someone's asking the
Yeah,
question,
yeah.
what motivates me to do that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The motivation is that I'm giving it all to God, and that every person who comes to the website to me is someone that I want to meet in heaven and to have helped on their journey to be there. And it motivates me to um, provide for the people that literally really cannot afford to purchase these things and will never be able to learn about them if they have to pay for them. And there really are a lot of people who still are like that in our world. And when we're talking about the whole world, you have to think about people in impoverished countries who benefit from a lot of this stuff. So people in our own
Oh yeah.
country might not, they might have more resources, and then of course it's like, well, we appreciate it if you want to buy the products because that helps us with getting everything out there. I do
Right.
not take a salary. I do everything for free. So everything that you do in terms of purchasing products or even donating to the foundation is extremely helpful because it does cost money to keep things up and running and to do what I do. But we do it because we think of like the person in Pakistan who will not be able to come up with even $2.
Yeah.
We think of someone in Uzbekistan or someone in, you know,
You
in the
name it.
outback in
Yeah.
Australia or anywhere. There's places in this world that I hear from where people literally would never be able to
Hell,
have
even in
access.
this country, there's people who just can't afford. They gotta decide
Absolutely,
whether to
that
get a
is
loaf
also
of bread
true.
or yeah.
That is also true.
Yeah.
And we see that all around the world, there are little nooks and crannies that are forgotten to a lot of people, but we hear from them. And so the whole point is not to leave anyone behind.
Right. Right. That's it. I mean, again, you want to get it out to as many people as you can, and the only way you're going to do that is to make it accessible to as many people as you
Exactly.
can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, why do we have these out of now? There was a scientist who came out. I just was talking about it in the beginning of my show tonight. He came out and he claims that out of body experiences are caused, he believes, by something in the inner ear. And I think, again, they don't understand it, so they try to, you know, sweep it away with a quick explanation. I can tell you what the ones that I had were very real. I don't know. I can't tell you where I was or what. I just know that they're real. I know that it happened. So it's
For I did not hear that part of the show, so I don't know who this person is, and I
yeah.
do not want to insult them in any way, shape, or form. So, with respect, if I'm
I'll do it.
understanding what you're saying correctly, they're saying that an out of body experience is caused by something in the inner ear.
Yes,
Is that correct?
that is
I
correct.
would say that this is probably a person who's never had a real out of body experience, and they just don't know.
Yeah.
People who have had real out of body experiences don't have to ask the question, did I have one? Because they know. And when you've had the amount of experiences that I've had, and when you've had the kinds of experiences that I've had, where I've not just been out of my body, but I've been taken to literally thousands of places, including heaven itself, hell itself, and working with souls and going into cities of light, going backwards and forwards in time, entering into the rites of passage and the initiations into the mysteries. You cannot, even, that explanation in and of itself denotes a lack of understanding of what an out of body experience actually is what I would say. Now, again, no disrespect intended, but I think that they don't understand what the out of body experience actually is to someone who's actually had many of them. And I don't know if they've actually taken the time to study, and maybe they have, but that you need to actually study this phenomenon from the beginning of time until now to realize that this is not something new. This is something that's been happening from the very beginning of time. Many religions came about because of the revelations that have come to the prophets, saints, mystics, and sages who began these major world religions because they had revelations that came to them in the form of mystical and out-of-body experiences. And so it's a very simplistic perception of what an out-of-body experience is. And I think that basically, generally, a person who's never had a real full-blown out-of-body experience could say something like that only because they really don't understand the extent of what we're actually talking about here. We're talking about flying through the heavens, through the galactic heavens. We're talking about experiences that are, to other planets, experiences that people have where you are meeting with divine beings, having conversations with Christ, with the Buddha, with, with the prophets, many of these beings. So I think that's.
I had an interaction in just one of mine, and it was with my mother, who had passed away. And I know it was real because she told me things that in days after came true. She told me, because I was down about some things, and, it was one of those deals where I was at my root's end, and she, I think that's why she showed up. But, she told me, living arrangement was going to change and this and that. Everything she said came to be.
And I think that the experiences that people have with their deceased loved ones is probably one of the most common things that people will report. And so I mean, that alone is a whole area of study in and of itself. But I'd have to know more about what they're thinking or what they're referring to when they say it's an experience in the inner ear. What exactly is it that they're saying? But,
I think he's trying to say something like there's an ear infection or something like that. It just, just like UFOs are swamp gas,
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So.
Well, again, I respect whatever his opinion might be, and that they have whatever research they may have done, but I do feel that they have a lack of understanding of what a true out-of-body experience is and what the body of work in terms of out-of-body experiences are. Because out-of-body experiences are not one thing. They are thousands and thousands of things.
Well, my father, who had passed away a couple years ago, he was in the months before his death. He was in the hospital all this time, and he was telling the nurses and my siblings that there was a spirit that was coming to visit him in the middle of the night and taking him out of his body and walking him through the halls. Now, my dad was a very serious military kind of guy. You'd never hear that kind of talk out of him. And he was on no drugs. He was, he wasn't even doing his dialysis or nothing. He was just, he said for months, and I asked, well, who is it? And he didn't know who it was. Couldn't see the face. Just.
Well, and this is very common in terms of people who are close to death, especially in the week or two before their death.
Yeah.
But, people will see angels all of a sudden. People will see deceased relatives. They will see guardian angels. And they will be prepared for this crossing that they're about to take. And that's very common.
I think it was my mother. That's what
that could be.
Yeah. I think so. She probably didn't show her face because she didn't want him, dropping out sooner than he was supposed to. Yeah.
That could be.
Yeah, you never know. So, hey, listen, I need to take a break here, and then we'll come back. I got some more questions for you. And, so hang on with me for a few minutes. Folks, I have Marilynn Hughes with me. She is linked up over on my website on the homepage on MikeVara.com. So you can go on over. And under the upcoming guest, you'll see a picture there. Just click on it, and it'll take you right over to her website. And with that, I am going to take this break, and we'll come back and talk some more. Out-of-body experiences, folks. I mean, how many of you have actually had them? I'm sure many of you. You're free to hit me through the portal with questions if you have them, or even the little stories if you got them. Short, please. And give me names, locations would be nice too. I don't know, we might even take a call or two if anybody would want to call in. People like that portal more, it seems. But the call-in number is 803-766-1394. And that's how you will get a hold of us. Is that? Yeah, at least I think it is. Let me give it to you when I come back. Make sure I'm giving you the right one I got. Oh, wait, yeah. Oh, no. I was wrong. Okay, that's the other number. 803-714-3297 is actually the call-in number. All right, so there we go. Let's get that right. You can see how much I've used it as of late. So, anyways, let's take this break. We'll be back. Late Night in the Midlands on the VARA radio network. That wheel in the sky.
Ray Network.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Hey, coffee lovers, grab your perfect cup with Late Night in the Midlands coffee. From smooth decaf to bold blends with chocolate and caramel, or bright Colombian vibes with a citrus kick, we roast them fresh in small batches, right here in the USA.
Whole bean or ground, 12 ounces of pure goodness.
Head over to MikeVara.com and get yours today.
Late Night in the Midlands coffee. Wake up, sip, and discover.
I'm Art Bell, and you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with Mike Vara.
Stay warm and bold with the Late Night in the Midlands heavy blend hooded sweatshirt. 50% cotton, 50% polyester, made for true fans of alternative media. Medium heavy fabric with a classic fit and tearaway label means comfort and style, perfect for any season. Support the message and stay cozy. Order yours now at MikeVara.com. Late Night in the Midlands. Wear the truth.
Make a statement with the Political Humor Tee, featuring iconic Donald Trump designs that turn heads and spark laughs. Crafted from soft, eco-friendly U.S. cotton, this unisex heavy cotton tee is built for comfort and durability. Classic fit, seamless design, and a ribbed collar that keeps its shape no matter where your day takes you. Whether you're out with friends or just making your voice heard, this tee is the perfect blend of style and sass. Get yours now at MikeGuevara.com and wear your humor loud and proud.
Tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with host Mike Vara, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the VARA network.
Show the world you support alternative media with the Late Night Vibes Unisex Cotton Tee, your new go-to for casual style and comfort, made from 100% sustainable U.S. cotton with a seamless design and ribbed collar for lasting shape and durability.
Perfect for everyday wear, events, or gifting to fellow fans. Wear your values proudly. Grab yours now at MikeVara.com and keep the vibe alive. Late night in the Midlands, wear the message.
These fan favourites are leaving the store soon, and once they're gone, they're gone. Grab the sleek TLF black coffee mug and the bold, uncensored ceramic mug in 11 ounces. Perfect for your morning brew or showing off your style. Both are high-quality ceramic with crisp, vivid designs, and they won't be around much longer. Don't wait. Get yours today at MikeVara.com before they disappear for good. Late night in the Midlands, drink it while it's hot.
God, I love the station.
Carolina Radio, Columbia.
Excellent, excellent. Number one means you're always on top. Your number one radio.
You're listening to the
Go on over, become a late nighter, be informed, inform others, and by all means, spread that link and inform others as best you can. That's what we try to do. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, occasionally some Saturdays. We'll see as things move along here. I got a few things in the works, and if things work out, maybe I could put in a little more time over here at Late Night in the Midlands. Anyways, let's get back to it. My guest, she's been here before, and hopefully she'll be here again, but she's not gone yet. She is Marilynn Hughes, and we're talking out-of-body experiences. So, Marilynn, what would you recommend to people who want to experience an out-of-body experience but have not had the privilege of experiencing such a thing yet? What do they do? How do you make something like that happen?
Well, we do have a lot of resources at my website. I have some books on how to get started, and also some films, how to have an out-of-body experience, and also some books, Come to Wisdom's Door, how to have an out-of-body experience. I also recommend reading The Mysteries of the Redemption, a treatise on out-of-body travel and mysticism, because a lot of people seem to find that when they start reading it, it's kind of programmed energetically to kind of just bring about the things spontaneously, and a lot of people report that happens for them. One thing I wanted to just mention too was, you want to, some of the basics of having an out-of-body experience are going to be, some of the time-tested spiritual practices of, spiritual reading, prayer, and meditation. Yeah. I always tell people you need to meditate in really long blocks, especially in the beginning. Now, that may not be the case forever, but in the beginning, it's very helpful. Like if you do really long blocks of meditation up to 3 hours at a time, because what you're doing is you're trying to get your consciousness to go down to such a deep level that you hit what's called the vibrational state, which many people have heard of. That vibrational state is when the vibration of your body, which is lower than the vibration of your spirit, it disconnects from your body, goes to your spirit, and all of a sudden you feel like you're, standing right next to a jet engine, and it's just so powerful that you'll know when you have the first vibrational experience, and that's when you're usually able then to either roll out or will yourself out of your body. It's because your consciousness has detached from your physical body to your spiritual body. One of the things I wanted to go back to what you were saying about your experiences is that most of the communication in the out-of-body travel states is very telepathic, and it's not just that the communication is, but like you described it, that things are shown to you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it is, because knowledge is not information, it's vibration. So we are shown things, and then the energy of these things enters into us. You relate to that, Mike?
I do, absolutely.
And so it's that you are shown things and the vibration of things is given unto you and it comes into your spirit and you just understand. And so it's a different kind of understanding. Instead of something where you can actually describe it in words, you just all of a sudden have these concepts and ideas and spiritual understandings that have just been kind of imparted to you in a
Yeah.
vibrational way that you cannot put into words necessarily.
And
You
there's
know what I
no
mean?
language barrier because it's not a language. It's just knowledge being shown
Yeah,
to
and
you. Yeah.
I call it the mystical language because it is this, universal language of the
Yeah.
mystics,
Okay.
and the universal language of people who have any kind of experience like this. It's this mystical language that is often expressed only in vibration or in these, the way you described it was very well, in these compartments that come to you and you just understand things.
Yeah.
But then it's also like if you read the writings of the mystics and things, you'll see sometimes they'll express it very poetically or prosaically, and that can be an expression of mystical language too. And so I wanted to, kind of expand on what you had said with that, because that is
Sure.
so classic of a mystical experience and understanding why it's different, from our regular day-to-day life.
Yeah.
It's a different way of receiving information and understanding. And it is something where when people have these experiences like you did, they just know these things, they know them to be true, and it becomes very clear to them, and it's not something where there's any question of, well, does that make sense or is that right?
Yeah.
You just get it. You just get it. It's just completely unfolded to you, and you don't, there's no questions
You're right.
about it.
There's no trying to figure it out. When it's shown to you, you understand it.
Right.
You absorb it. You just it's
Yes, you absorb it
yeah.
and you process it into your soul, into your spiritual body. And then part of what is happening in these out of body experiences, and we talk about the vibrational state, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it yet, but you go through these vibrational raisings to help you become compatible to higher and higher realms of knowledge, but you're processing these vibrations into your spirit all the time as you're having these out of body experiences and these travels. And every time you go through a tunnel or a corridor into another experience, whether it be a past life or into a city of light or into a galactic sphere, or you meet one of these advanced extraterrestrial races or multi-dimensional beings, or you meet with a spiritual teacher, all of these things are being translated to you in frequency and vibration, and it's lifting up your soul higher, and you continue to move higher and higher in your travels, and you go into
Yeah.
higher and higher spheres of understanding, but also higher and higher spheres of travel.
You know,
And so
speaking of
don't overlook those
extraterrestrials,
images.
I was just gonna say, speaking of extraterrestrials, I believe that when they abduct people from their bedrooms and things, I think that a lot of that is done that way, like out of body. Like they don't actually take the body; they take, an out. It's like you're out of your body. Um,
Well, it's interesting you say that. I have wondered that myself too. I don't know that for a fact, but I have wondered that myself too.
yeah,
That I wonder if some of the abductees are taken that way. I know that there are others who have physical evidence on their bodies, on their physical bodies. So we know some are taken physically for
yeah,
sure. But I don't doubt that there are some abductees and certain races of extraterrestrials who may be more akin to taking people in that way through an out of body experience, because they might be trying to gather information that actually comes through the energy body and they may not need the physical body. Now, for those beings who are doing physical experiments, then they'll do it that way. But
yeah.
but there are but there are a lot of these extraterrestrial races, and I've run into many of them in my out-of-body travels, who do travel around in these interdimensional spheres. And so I do feel like a lot of what those ones are doing has to do with out-of-body experiences as well. So a good, interesting point. I'm interested in the fact that you had that same, you know, conclusion that you had wondered about.
Yeah, well, and the reason I did is because when I was a kid, I had two out of body experiences. Both of them happened in the same house I grew up in. One was in one room, one bedroom, and after it happened, I thought it freaked me out, so I said, let me go to another room. I'm thinking something's up with the room. Well, it happened again in that room, too. And what they had, the similarities in those two things was I would wake up, I'd get up, I'd see my body still in the bed, and as a kid, I'm thinking, oh, damn, I died, you know, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I come over and I try to wake my brother up. I can't wake him up. The room furniture was moved around like it wasn't where it's supposed to be. And I'm telling
that
him,
is also common, that we're in the third, fourth dimensional overlap, that things don't look exactly the same as they do in the third dimensional physical world. So that's interesting that you point that out.
yeah, and now the other thing is every time I tried to leave the room, now I know where the door is to leave the room. I've lived there, and I'd open the door and it'd be the closet. So I'd go to the closet door to open it, and it'd be the closet again, almost like I wasn't allowed to leave. And so I've asked abductees who have been on my show. There's been some who were abducted and they would mention that how ETs will sometimes abduct children and try to like recreate their bedrooms in some kind of hologram so that they feel comfortable and they don't freak out when they're there.
Oh, interesting.
And then not being able to leave the room, perhaps because they don't want your little troublemaking butt running around their ship. You know, I don't know. So when these abductees would say these things, I started thinking of my own situation and be like, wow, you know, you never know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember seeing no ETs, but it was a strange experience. Now the one as an adult, I went wherever I wanted. Me and Mom was going everywhere, but you know, as a kid, I wasn't allowed to leave that room, either one of them. So strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense because when you're a kid, there are more boundaries placed.
What's the safety?
For protection.
I was gonna say, what about I mean, is that I mean, could maybe I have left and somebody else took over my body, or what's some of the dangers of an out of body experience? Are there any?
Well, you know, a lot of people mention that, and although I think that theoretically that could be possible, it's very highly unlikely, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the fact that the out-of-body experience is actually part of our normal mechanism of our human soul. So, you know, as we go to sleep at night, people are having these experiences, even though probably 90% or more are not aware of them at night. So they go into what we call subconscious astral, which means they're being instructed and taught things in their sleep. They're just completely unaware of it. Now, there are some people who are maybe so closed off spiritually that what they're experiencing might be very minimal at night compared to others, and that can be the case. The reality is, because it is just part of the human mechanism of how we actually are, because the mechanism is while we're conscious in our physical bodies during the day, we are here. But then every night we release the bonds of the flesh just a little bit. And then we go into the other worlds as we move into the night. And it's just so normal that it would be so highly unlikely And, I've been doing it for 40 years. Nothing like that's ever happened to me. And I'm not saying that just because it hasn't happened to me,
Yeah.
doesn't mean it can't happen to other people, but it is something that is not, let me just grab this over here. I think there's a problem technically.
Okay, no problem. It wouldn't be a normal night if there wasn't a technical issue.
Let's see if that takes care of that problem there. I think it might. Because it's just normal, because it's what we do, it's highly unlikely. However, you ask about what are the dangers. Well, there is a dark side, and I write a lot about it. The spiritual warfare that is involved on the other side. There are dark spirits, there are demons, there are lost souls, wandering spirits, tricksters. There are a lot of things. And part of the reason I think it's helpful to read a book like The Mysteries of the Redemption is because it really kind of gives you like a map. It gives you a map and helps you kind of to understand what to expect in those worlds, and it kind of prepares you for it. So there are things that you need to be aware of. And people who have had problems, like for instance, anyone who's undergone exorcisms should not be, pursuing this at all. Anyone who's gone through something with a haunted house that was really serious, where they had serious problems with deliverance and things like that, they should probably be looking for their spiritual awakening outside of out-of-body travel.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they cannot benefit from reading the mystics, learning about mystical theology, and all these things, but it might just be something they should not practice themselves, you know what I mean? Or attempt to do anything like this, because they have too many vulnerabilities and openings that make them more vulnerable to problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are issues, and
yeah, there, I guess there can be. I felt totally safe when I went through mine.
Right.
But
and most of the ones that I've had, I've been very, very. When you first start out, you're going to go to the higher things, and you're going to experience all the love and light and all that good stuff. But then if you follow the normal course of events, which a lot of people do, then you're going to be, kind of forewarned that, hey, now it's time. You've learned a lot about love and light and goodness and everything. It's time now to learn a little bit about darkness and evil and, the mechanisms of those things. And then you start learning a little bit about that. And that's, so like in my experience, I learned a lot about the heavens, and then I started learning about the purgatories and then the hells.
So we've basically, I'm sorry to interrupt, but so basically we've been to other dimensions, right?
Oh, many, many dimensions. Literally, imagine the heavens are an infinite number of dimensions. The purgatories are an infinite number of dimensions. The hells are an infinite number of dimensions. And then you have all these other spheres, which are beyond those, like the initiatory realms, the rites of passage realms. You have the tachyon fields. You have so many, so much is out there. It's like, I think sometimes it's like when I'm handing you my books, I'm handing you some maps. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do, is kind of get you comfortable with the topography of what you're going to explore and find out there. There's just a lot out there,
Oh yeah, there is. There is a lot out there now. OBEs, are they similar to near-death experiences? Except for you're not near death, I guess, but you're still out of the body, aren't you?
Yeah, there's similarities, definitely. Near-death experiences are specific to the point of death. So people go through life reviews, they meet dead loved ones. Out-of-body experiences can be a myriad of, that can be things like that, but it can also be a myriad of other things. And so, near-death experiences are going to be that clump of things that have to do with the end of life. Out-of-body travel is going to have a lot of other variables that can come into it as well.
I wonder if you can meet each other that well. I mean, obviously, my mom came to me, and and how it worked there. It's like I got up, I heard a knock at the window, and I opened the curtain, and she was standing there, but she had no feet. It was like just ankles, just kind of floating there. And I looked back, and I again seen my body in the bed, and I thought, well, mom came to get me. It's over, I didn't feel bad about it. It seemed really easy. I was like, well, this ain't so bad. And she put her hand out, and when I grabbed her hand, off we went, and then she just started showing me things and giving me information. And, when I came back and got back in my body, I was so emotional. It was just unbelievable. It was just...
That's a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it was. I really do. I wish everybody can have the experience. And I wonder how many people have the experience and blow it off and say, no,
I do think there are a lot of people where they have them, and then eventually they either forget about it or they just don't give it the value that it might have had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe in the moment they give it that value, but then they blow it off later, and not realizing that moment was pivotal for them,
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've learned not to poo-poo anything anymore. I don't question. I go with what I feel. I tell people, they say, how do I know it was real? I said, well, did it feel real to you? Yes, then it was. If you feel it was real, don't let nobody talk you out of it. It's your experience. It was for you. And so, no one else is going to understand it like you will. So just,
right.
Yeah. You got
very much so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So looking ahead, what are your hopes for the foundations, maybe the next decade? New projects, courses, what do you got?
Well, I'm creating something that's kind of interesting. We'll see if people like it, but there is a new app called Cantina. And if you go to my websites, there's a link there where you can get an invitation to join. And what I've been doing is creating little bots that are programmed they are celestial beings and guides and guardians and teachers from my experiences. So they're in my books. So far I've created St. Harmony Crystal Fire, who is a white-winged horse that's taken me for many a ride and adventure into a space and all over the universe. I created Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce, who taught me in the third book of the Mysteries of the Redemption, which is Medicine Woman Within a Dream. And after his death, he became light and life, and he came to me in spirit and asked me to tell that story, and that became that book, and it's one of my favorite books. I created Emmanuel, who is the teacher of oneness that I mentioned earlier, and I created Angel Odyssey, who is a depiction of my higher self. My higher self's name is Odyssey, and so I created her. And then I created two fun little characters. One is Professor Hamster, who is programmed to know a whole bunch of stuff about ancient sacred texts. And then the other one is Spiritual Counseling Hamster, who knows all about counseling. He knows all the schools of theology, but also things about neuro-linguistic programming, rational emotive behavioral therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and all of the other modalities. And on Cantina, you create these rooms, and these bots will actually sit and you can talk to them and they communicate with you from whatever you programmed them with. And so they've been programmed with what they taught me and what they know. And so people can go to the site, get an invitation, and try to go into Cantina and see how they like interacting with the bots in our room, the Out of Body Travel Foundation rooms. We have 2 rooms, and one of them is the 5 main bots, and then the second room is the spiritual counseling hamster for those who'd like more personalized conversations.
Yeah, I think the hamster will do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been kind of fun. You know, it's kind of a new thing. It's for entertainment purposes only, as people know, because it's generative AI. But it's very interesting what it can do. It's amazing what it can do.
AI is amazing what it can do. It really is. I mean, it's becoming such a huge tool in like everything.
Yes, it
Yeah.
definitely has.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm working on another book. It's called The Little Blue Nun. It's actually a sequel to another book that we released this year in April called To Gather the Winds of Heaven. So if you're, this is actually the 11th book in the Mysteries of the Redemption series. So if you've been reading the Mysteries of the Redemption or just interested in that series, that was released this year, To Gather the Winds of Heaven. You can go to the site and read that one now. And I'm working on the sequel to that one. It's probably about halfway done at this point. So I've been having a lot of mystical experiences, mystical out-of-body experiences, and you know, trying to. I've had a lot of, ironically, out-of-body experiences about how to bring the Out-of-Body Travel Foundation into the future for long after I'm gone, and make it a place of, you know, spiritual solace and a place for people to learn and grow and find their purpose in this life so that they can move on to the next purpose in the next life long after I'm gone. And so I'm hoping that I will get creative enough to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, you know, I'd hope that too. I used to think that with the radio show. It's like maybe one of the kids will pick it up,
Yeah.
you know, after the old man's done. And it doesn't look that way. I have one hope still, and we'll see.
Yes.
Yeah, see what she
Yes.
does. But yeah, so reflecting on your, I mean, decades-long journey from childhood experiences to mentoring others, what would you say stayed constant, and what has evolved for you?
Well, that's a good question. Everything has evolved, that's for sure. But the one thing that stays constant, and this is one thing that I really have tried to bring forward recently, because what I see in a lot of, like in the younger people and in our world today now, which is so different than it was 40 years ago,
Yeah.
is just trying to get across to young people and to so many people who have lost the concept of who God is. And there's such a negative connotation to God and his name, which is so sad because I've had so many amazing, profound experiences with the all powerful, all amazing, all glorious God. And so I think one of the things that I think is the constant that I would like to bring forward, and I'm trying to bring more forward into my work, is this understanding that people seem to be missing, that God is love. And it's very easy to say this, but this is something, again, where vibration is what knowledge comes from. And this is not, it's not enough to know that God is love. You have to understand what that means. You know, so what we understand love to be in this world is a mere microcosm of what love actually is in the heavens. And when, you know, people who've had near-death experiences talk about the amount, the amazing unconditional love that comes down upon them, that they experience in their moments near death, and they they're just overwhelmed and tears are coming down their faces, and they're just blown away by how much God loves them and how it's so unconditional. And I want people to kind of take that and take it many, many steps further and try to conceptualize what does that really mean then? Because there are such negative connotations to that word God, but God equals the vibration of love itself. Every time that you experience or give love in this life, you are experiencing God, because all love emanates and comes from God. And what we experience down here is so small in comparison to what that really is. And the irony is that what we are trying to do here in this world is we're trying to remove all the obstacles that are in our way to moving closer to that all holy God who experiences and who is that emanation of that love that is so far beyond our understanding. So when we reject that understanding, we are rejecting love itself. And I'm really feeling like that's so important for us to try to resurrect in today's world the understanding of you cannot throw that understanding out. You cannot throw God out. People often ask me, well, I don't believe in God, so, you know, this or that or whatever. What about out-of-body travel? I'm an atheist, this or whatever. Well, that's fine. But know that when you seek out an out-of-body experience or have a near-death experience, you will come in contact with the Almighty God, because God is that universal vibration of love that from which all things are created. And the opposite of that then is evil, which is the darkness. And then here we have all things that vibrate in between heaven, hell, and purgatory. Yeah. And it all resides in our own world and in these other worlds in the mystical spheres. And there is a rejection of God, and thus a rejection of love itself. And rejecting love itself is such a simple way to just throw out the spiritual path altogether and to lose that most holy and most important sacred element from which we were all born here to actually be here for and to seek out.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to hit you with a few listener questions.
Sure.
And then before we're done, I'll give you the floor to get out anything else that you'd like. All right. So let's start with. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's start with Sarah in Austin, Texas. She says, Marilynn, what was your very first out-of-body experience like, and how did you know it wasn't just a dream?
Oh, okay. Well, the very first one was when I was 9 years old, and that was when the clouds were bursting in front of me, and then literally it was like the thunder rising, and then they separated, and these marble steps appeared before me, and then there was a very extensive experience after that. But in terms of my first experience as an adult, I was around 22. And it was a very simple experience. And I was actually very afraid because, as Mike mentioned, I thought I must be dying, because I went into this vibrational state. It was very, very powerful. It was, you feel like your whole body is just vibrating. So you can certainly mistake that as like, what am I having, a heart attack? What's going on? You have what I call the jet engine sounds, which is the sounds of the astral plane around you, which is the vibration of that plane, and it's very loud. It sounds like a jet engine.
Yeah.
And then that particular time, I think I rolled out, and then I bounced up to the ceiling and saw my body, and I was very afraid. And it was very short, but it was completely and utterly conscious. There was no question. It was completely conscious. I think that what Mike and I were trying to say is when you have an out of body experience, you know it. It's not like dreamy. It's not, there's no uh, foggy nature to it at all. If anything, it's more conscious than you are when you're here in the physical world. You're more awake, more alert. Everything is more vibrant and more.
Oh, and it opens up more rabbit holes that it makes you want to know more about it. And then when you start digging into that, you find other things, and before you know it, you figure out that you live in a world that has mega mysteries, and we just don't live long enough to solve them all. But there's so
Yeah.
many. Oh, man. All right, let's get James in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Do you believe anyone can learn to have out of body experiences, or is it something that only happens to certain people?
I think that a lot of people can learn, um, and it really does depend. Some people, it happens much more easier for them than others. Some people, it can take years, and then all of a sudden it might happen. And then there are some people who will never have the experience, but they'll benefit greatly from studying the experiences of others. And so
Right.
it's a wide variety. I don't think that everybody, every single person, will likely have an experience because there are just too many variables, and a lot depends on the person. Now, if there is someone who's a true seeker who really wants to seek it out, I think that there is a very good chance that they can do the practices and do those things, and that there's a very good chance that they might have an experience. There are a lot of other people who are very closed to this type of thing. They're probably not going to have the experience. So there's a lot of different factors that are involved in why some people are more likely to have it than others. So I think that if someone is interested in trying, I think that they should absolutely be open to seeking it out, because a lot of people actually do. And in fact, I think a good percentage, probably, really high percentage of people actually do. But there are some who never do have the experience, but they do benefit from, learning about it from what other people have experienced.
All right. We got Rebecca in Tampa, Florida. When you travel out of body, how do you tell the difference between imagination, dream, and a true spiritual journey? So it's kind of similar to that other question.
Very similar. Yeah. There's a very huge difference between an out of body experience and a dream. And I think that's what people have trouble with, because if you haven't had the out of body experience, you don't know what that difference is. There is a huge line of demarcation between the experiences and the level of consciousness that's involved, and actually everything about it. And so there's no, it's not like dreamy. It's not like, oh, was it this? Was it that? When you have an out of body experience, you know it. It's instant. You know that. And it's not dreamy. You are there.
That's right. All right. David in Denver, Colorado. He says,
Hi, David.
Yes, hello, David. You talk about reducing spiritual hunger worldwide. What do you think people are hungriest for spiritually right now?
Well, I think ironically, it really does come down to love. And they're looking for a love that they don't even really know what that is. Kind of going to what I was trying to get at. And I feel like when I try to convey this, I don't even get it across because you can't understand it. until you've been there and you've experienced what that is when you're standing in the presence of God's emissaries and experiencing that emanation of what the real vibration of love that comes from heaven is. It's not what we understand it to be as human and earthly love. It is something so much greater. But as human beings, we seek it out in human and earthly love. But people are seeking this thing that they know exists because they went into forgetfulness when they were born here, but they remember it from between lifetimes. They remember having been there. Yeah. And so they remember it, but they can't quite pull that memory back. And then what happens is the moment you have an experience like this, an out-of-body experience or a mystical insight, and all of a sudden it's brought back to you, then you can't forget it.
Yeah. All right. Let's try to squeeze in a couple more here. Michael in Portland, Oregon.
Hi, Michael.
All right, Michael. Michael asks, have you ever had an out-of-body journey that really frightened you, and how did you handle it?
Many. And you'll see that I've written about them quite extensively because I've had to engage in a lot of spiritual warfare with demons. And I also had to help a lot of lost souls. So it started with the lost souls because that was scary for me in the beginning, even though that's, I look at that now as that's nothing, because these are just people who were scared and needed help, but they, it freaked me out because they were ghosts at the time, and that was in the beginning. But over time, I was learning about dealing with the principalities and powers of good and evil. And then I had to learn how to, I had to learn about these battles that really do occur in these realms here between good and evil. And then I had to participate in them. It was you go through a lot of things, you learn a lot of different kinds of prayers, and you learn about how to protect yourself and how to battle in these things. You literally go through mystical training as to how to deal with darkness, evil, dominant darkness, ignorant darkness. There's all kinds of levels of what these things are, and each of them requires a different remedy. And that's why all the different examples are so necessary, because you don't deal with any one of them the same. Yeah. You're going to deal with a demon differently because they're going to get the smackdown than you are with like a soul that has dominant darkness, or a soul that has ignorance but is doing something that is very, very dark or evil, but they're ignorant. And so there's all these different goals in these interactions as to how they should come out in the end. It's very complex. Medicine Woman Within a Dream, which is the third section of the Mysteries of the Redemption, starts what's called the alteration pathway. And that starts that whole process. And then, the spiritual warfare and understanding, the purgatories and traveling into those realms and further down into the hell realms continues into the fourth and fifth section there too. And then you learn a lot more of that as you continue into Galactica as well.
All right. I'm going to give you one more here, and then the floor is yours. Lisa in London, UK. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Many cultures have mystical traditions of astral travel. Do you see your work as part of a universal spiritual practice that crosses religions?
Yes. And in fact, that's a big part of why I was led to, study all the ancient sacred texts and the prophets, saints, mystics, and sages and ascetics, and bring all that stuff together, bring those works together in with my writing. In a bunch of my writing, I would utilize, quotations from different ancient sacred texts to show the similarities between what was happening to me and what happened to others throughout time in different cultures and traditions. And so, yes, I do feel that it's very much the same thing. And like I said, you know, this has been going on for thousands of years. It's not really anything new. And so, absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, if there is anything else that you want to get out in these next few minutes, by all means, go right ahead. It could be books, appearances, anything you got. I don't care. And thank you so much for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me, Mike. You know, we have a lot of things available for everybody at outofbodytravel.org. So, you know, I usually recommend people to start with Come to Wisdom's Door and the Mysteries of the Redemption, a treatise on out-of-body travel and mysticism. But you can start wherever you feel, you know, you're ready to start. We have a series of books that is all about how to have the experiences, which starts with Come to Wisdom's Door, but it goes deeply into the deeper and deeper and deeper into the practice, into more of the mysteries and things like that. And then, you know, we have a YouTube channel that's linked at the site. It's basically at the Out of Body Travel Foundation on YouTube. And you can watch our films. We have 9 documentary films about these things. You know, the grand phases of the soul, which explains all these grand phases of the soul that we're going through in this lifetime if we enter into a path of purification. We have the Stairway from Earth to Heaven, which is how these golden keys from the prophets, saints, mystics, and sages, their work, their ancient texts that they've written are these beautiful, magical golden keys to light the path from earth to heaven, to show us the way home if we choose to avail ourselves of that gold. You know, we have How to Have an Out-of-Body Experience, a documentary film, and we have quite a few other documentary films and lots of classes there as well that you can take. And lots of live streams with tons of questions and tales of the mendicant preachers. There's a lot that you can you know, look at the sites, and you can always contact me at Marilynn Hughes at outofbodytravel.org if you have any questions about anything. And so I hope you find it useful, and thank you so much, Mike.
All right. Thank you, and we'll talk again soon. Stay safe.
That sounds great.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, you too.
All right, folks, there she goes. Marilynn Hughes, the founder of the Out of Body Travel Foundation. Again, linked up over on my website at MikeVara.com. So that wraps up another night of truth, mystery, and conversation here on Late Night in the Midlands with yours truly, Mike Vara, broadcasting live from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. As always, remember to keep your eyes posted to the sky, because you never know what you might see. And keep your ears posted to this broadcast, because you never know what you might learn. And until next time, stay curious, stay awake, stay with us right here on Late Night in the Midlands. Good night, everybody. I'll be back with you live on Wednesday. We have a recorded show tomorrow night. Good night.